The biggest lessons I've learned in my life are here. Through different topics, I'm going to inspire and motivate you to reach your success and your dreams. I'm so grateful that you're here on Journey to Success. So let's enjoy my next episode together.
Let me introduce you to Anna Schmidt, the host of the podcast Practically Paranormal, which I highly recommend checking out on various audio streaming services. I was amazed by her story and asked if she would like to join me on my podcast. And here we are. Welcome, Anna. How are you doing?
I am wonderful, and it's lovely to be connecting with you, Fabio.
Great. Lovely for me as well. We had just a small issue with the audio, but we sorted out. And before I start, would you like to tell me more about your gift, Anna?
Tell me, you would like to know more about what I do?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. I have an interesting job. It's actually my lifestyle, which has over the years evolved into work. So I work as a paranormal specialist. I go into people's homes worldwide through using remote dowsing processes, floor plans, photos of people's homes. And I very respectfully clear out paranormal energies that shouldn't be in people's homes. So it's kind of an unusual career, but it's part of my life. Like, I've always been psychic, even since I was a child. And over the years, I've sort of went through numerology and palmistry, reading cards, doing readings for people. And then I found that I had a natural skill for working with lower vibrational beings. And a lot of people don't know what that term means. So I tend to call them dark energy beings. These are the energies, the entities, the demons, the dark energy, that people see in movies that, quite frankly, frighten them quite badly. But these energy beings are rather interesting. There's fascinating reasons why they are in our environment. And over the last probably about 35 years, I have been learning, understanding, and developing a relationship, a respectful understanding about why these beings are here, what they do to us, how they affect us, why they're in our homes, on the land, in places. And I've even written a book about it called The Darkness Around Us, just to help educate people about these beings in a non-fear-based way, because really and truly they're not frightening at all.
Okay. So you can call yourself also an investigator about it.
Yes, indeed.
And listen, I can imagine that this gift made you feel like an outcast or a stranger to the world. So how much did this gift affect your childhood?
Oh, hugely. You hear people talk about themselves feeling different or being different or not feeling like they can fit into society, not feeling like they belong. Well, I'm putting my hand up here. I am one of those. I always knew that I had something that was different to other people, but it took me until I was probably in my late 20s, early 30s to actually start owning it, and then getting into my 40s and discovering my love of doing house clearing. And I taught myself pretty much all that I know through my own experiences. Some of them were good and some of them weren't so good. They were quite challenging. But I share on my podcast everything that I've learned to help other people understand why paranormal beings are in our environment. And I felt like an outcast as a child, but even working in mainstream job lines for a while, as I did when I was younger. I was a clothing alterationist, and then I ended up in mainstream education as a teacher aide, working in classrooms. because I love literacy, and I was good at working with students. I really love children, so I was good at working with young children, helping them improve their literacy skills. But still, that didn't really fulfill what I knew in my heart was what I was meant to be doing. And then I discovered the house healing, or the house energy clearing, house cleansing. And I have a rather unique way of doing the work that I do. And I'm quite proud of the way that I do my work. And I get really, really good results because I have a really good understanding of paranormal beings, spirits, dark and demonic level beings. Yes, I'm using the big D word, as I call it. They're not frightening at all. They're just a heavier energy being that's in our environment for a particular reason.
Okay, super. We don't believe in situations that we cannot see, right? And this can be hypocritical since we also believe in religions that require faith without tangible evidence. So, however, I believe that you may have experienced something in your life that challenged this perspective. So how did it make you feel when some people did not believe in your gift, basically?
Because I've always been on that outer fringe of society. That's the term that I use when I describe what I do for work. I've always had that understanding and just knew that what I was doing, I trusted it. Because ever since I was a child, I've always felt the presence of these energy beings. I mean, we are energy in these physical bodies. And some people are more sensitive to unseen energy in the environment, whether it's electromagnetic energy, whether it's earth energy lines, and they're feeling unusual energy coming from within the earth. I feel these paranormal beings in the environment. Now, first of all, probably when I was in my 20s, I was working with your traditional guides, angels, archangels, that higher vibrational being. They exist. I mean, when you connect in with your spirituality and you are willing to open yourself up to working with your spiritual support network, as I call it, they can help you evolve in your life. So when you start believing in those beings, and I was feeling other energies like higher vibrational beings, your spiritual support network, feel light, bright, sort of breezy, and they waft around you, and you feel quite good when you're around those beings. The paranormal energies, when you're around those, or if they're in your home, or if they're at the pub, or they're down at the shop, all of a sudden people's energy can change and they can feel denser. They can feel like their emotions go down, the behaviors change in a negative way. So I've observed all those changes that I've just mentioned within myself over the years, and explaining it to people, I just say it as it is. You know, they either believe me or they don't. But I have a lot of skeptics over the years that have employed me to do work and then found that they have actually had amazing changes in their home. The energy's raised in their homes. All of a sudden they're feeling better in themselves. They can't work out why. Right? I just provide that service for them. If they want to say that it was my work that helped them, that's fine. If they don't, that's fine too. I know that the work I've done has actually benefited my clients. Most people are interested in energy, but a lot of what we see in society, through history, through religion, has, I don't want to use the word brainwashed, we'll go tainted, has tainted people's opinions of energy beings in whatever form they come in. And it's quite interesting to see the changes in people who come to me with fear. And when I talk to them about what we're going to be talking about today, they actually go away and they're like, wow, they're real. And they don't do what you see on television and what you see in the movies. They're actually here for a reason, and I don't feel frightened of them anymore. So I find that whether people believe me or not, that is up to them. I know what I do works. I trust it. Believe me, I've been working on myself personally and in my home for a very, very long time before I started working with clients. So I know that what I do works.
Super. About energy, actually, since you mentioned, my partner and I always talk about the energy in the house, especially for example, when invite someone that how can I say, is pretty impactful in a strong or light way. Example, sometimes we invite my sister from Italy, and we used to say, "Oh my God, her energy is so light, like that she can be here for months and you don't feel it, right? Like you can live here forever." And maybe other people, we say, "Oh my God, his energy is so heavy," like in a way that can be stuck for more than a week, even if that person left. Like it's unbelievable how the human being has this level of energy, basically. But I was wondering if this energy is related to someone close to us, some angel or something, or maybe it's something from our human being, basically from who we are.
Before we go through, if you're enjoying this podcast, please consider taking just 3 seconds to share it with someone else. It is a small gesture that could make a big difference in someone's day. Now, sit back and enjoy the rest of the episode.
So, as I mentioned earlier, we're energy in these physical bodies. So we relate to higher vibrational beings, and they support us in the ability to enhance our lives, to evolve our lives, to become enlightened, if you want to use that word. Some people are ready for that, some aren't. Our thoughts, words, actions, and reactions create our environment through the energy that we put out. So I always say to people that your thoughts create a vibration, and that vibration ripples out of your body, and other people feel that vibration. So as you were talking about your family member, it feels light and she feels lovely to be around. If other people are in, say they're having life troubles, they've got addictions, or they've lost their job and they're feeling stressed and worried and they're anxious all the time and they don't know where life is taking them, they're living in a lower vibrational state. And we all understand why they're like that, because it's tough when life gets hard. But that lower vibrational state also ripples out a vibration. And the paranormal beings are energy beings, as we all know. You can't see them. Seriously, they're just energy. You will feel them moving around, moving past you. Once you've listened to this episode today, you'll have more awareness of the energy in your environment. And you might find that you start picking up on dense patches of energy wherever you go, supermarkets, in the shops, down the streets, to the pubs, at a concert. But these energy beings are drawn to people, this is the lower vibrational beings, are drawn to people who are living in a low vibration because they're pumping out, how can I put it? Their emotions are creating low vibrational energy, which attracts paranormal beings. They are what I call energy feeders. Now, there's particular types of energy beings. Now, I'm going to use myself as an example. I use this example all the time. One of my trigger emotions, which creates a low vibration, is resentment. People annoy me through emails or something, and I get resentful in my mind. Now, it doesn't have to be outwardly spoken resentment towards someone, but any thought that you ruminate about in your mind creates a vibration. And because I create resentment, believe me, I've been working on it a long time. When I'm about 80% there, I don't create it much anymore. But if I do, I attract to me the lower vibrational energies, the dark energy beings that feed off resentment. And it's really as simple as that. People say to me, well, why are they here? Why are they in my home? Why are they hanging around me? And when I do an energy clearing for a person's home, I outline every lower vibrational emotion I find in every room, the paranormal beings attached to it, when it was created, and I remove those emotions. When you remove those emotions from the person or their environment, then the energy beings are like, well, I don't want to be here anymore. You've just taken away my food source. So I offer them the option to transition into a place in the afterlife that is specially for dark energy beings to help them evolve before they move into that mainstream of consciousness, or they go back out in the environment. So they have those two choices. And people really notice a difference when that low vibrational energy is removed from a place, especially a bedroom or a bed, or their lounge room's been feeling a little bit, they have trouble explaining it. It feels icky or uncomfortable, or my husband and I just argue all the time in the lounge room, nowhere else in the house. That tells me there is a pool of negative energetic imprints, as I call them, the emotions in the lounge room. This is where I put on my Sherlock Holmes or my detective hat, and I get in there with my dowsing. I use a pendulum for dowsing, and I just ask through my dowsing what the emotions are, when they were created, who created them, and then I remove them and the energy beings leave. They simply will not stay in a higher vibrational place or location.
Okay. Well, when happens here, we just wait 5-7 days. We are sure that after 1 week, the house is again, I don't know, clean. And this concept is truly interesting, honestly interesting. And I would like to go a little bit deeper, right? Let's say I don't believe in your gift. Okay. So I believe in this conversation. I believe in you as a human being. So I have the capacity to respect the people regardless their opinion or beliefs, something that doesn't happen in this world, unfortunately. But let's say I don't believe in what you do, all right? So what arguments would you use to defend the reality of paranormal activity and support your belief in it, basically?
Well, the thing is that if people don't want to believe you, no matter what you say, they're just not going to believe you. I meet a lot of people in person, online, through group calls, and if I can sense that there is a level of fear within a person through their body language or through the way that they're speaking or the way they write their emails, then I simply don't put an argument to them, because you can't change people's perceptions unless they are willing to be open to another perspective.
Yeah. And I think that's actually the correct answer, honestly. It's if someone doesn't believe, it doesn't matter if we're talking religions or spirituality or, if in his experience he learned certain things, it wouldn't change so much idea in the future unless is propense to do, right? So he has to do itself, otherwise it's not going to happen. And anyway, I actually believe you, Anna. As you already noticed about that, I would like to share some experience. So the first time I experienced something out of the ordinary was when I was walking my town and saw someone on the other side of the bridge who looked like my great grandmother. So I could only see her chest and part of a wheelchair, but there seemed to be a glitch underneath her. It's not that there was a cloud or something. It was actually kind of a glitch. I don't know how to say. So I remember being curious and walking to the other side of the bridge. And of course, it wasn't evening, otherwise, I wouldn't be so much brave. And however, when I got there, there was nothing there. So when I talked to my mother about it, I remember she said that entities used to appear more often. It was more common, something she used to hear from my great grandmother. But right now, we are too distracted with our daily lives, and that these entities don't show themselves as often as they used to do, basically. So, what do you think about it?
Well, family members, spirits, people that are, see, they're still energy. They're still in their energy bodies. They can come and visit us any time that they choose to. And it depends on the person's level of openness, readiness to see them. You don't always see them, as you've explained through your example. You don't always see them as the whole person. You might just get a glimpse of their eyes. Or an interesting thing that happened to me once is that I was going through an experience in my life. And when I went to bed that night, I woke up in the morning and my father has passed away. And I saw this very fast moving door, like in a restaurant, you have those doors that you push on, like a two-way door. And it was flapping really fast. And I could see his face through this door looking at me rather angrily because he had specific opinions about life and how you live life. But I didn't see the rest of him. All I saw was the face because he wanted to convey to me that he wasn't happy about a certain thing that I was doing in my life at that moment. So spirits are kind of funny. They are in the environment. Sometimes they can be in our reality because they don't know that they've passed away. They may have died suddenly, or they're here because they want to keep an eye on us, or because people don't want to let them go. Some people are so grief-stricken that they just can't let their relatives go. And if we hang on to them, they stay in this environment and they're actually closer to us and they can communicate with us quite readily. But often they will use different scenarios in our environment. I've had people that have smelt grandma's, scones or grandma's jam cooking, and like they're in the lounge room, no one is cooking jam, or granddad's cigars, and you're like, oh, Poppy used to smoke that sort of cherry tobacco. So they come around us. Some people see them, as you've explained in your example. Some people will hear them. Some people will just know that they're around. And sometimes they use their favourite piece of music on the radio. It's quite lovely when you get that communication, that acknowledgement. You might be having a tough time in your life and you need, you just really loved grandma or nana or granddad was the one that you always went to when you were struggling. And they're still with us because you've got to remember, we are just energy in these physical bodies. They are energy without the physical bodies.
Well, if you put it in that way, there is not so much difference then, honestly.
No, not at all.
Talking about experiences, actually, can you tell me your first experience? Do you remember your first paranormal experience? Or was it just a process?
Gosh, there's been so many. I used to see spirits quite a lot. I'd see them at school. I'd see them standing next to my teacher. I would see them in the supermarkets, in the shops. I would see them everywhere. And then my seeing, ESP sense, seemed to back away as I got older. And I became more of what I call a feeler. Now, when you feel energy around you and you can't see them, it's a little bit harder to work out who they are or what they are. I've had so many experiences. I always think of the paranormal ones more, sort of the darker energy ones, because that's where my interest is. But I've had them coming into my bedroom, at school. It's hard to define the very, very first experience because I was so young. I've just had hundreds and hundreds of experiences with the paranormal. So it's part of a lifestyle. And I quite often will explain to people, they go, well, how do you live like this? How do you manage to do this all day, every day? And I call it a paranormal addiction. Now, I am openly, I openly say to people that I am a paranormal addict because I live it, I breathe it, I read it, I write about it, I do YouTube, my podcast, Facebook pages, the whole thing. I just am so fascinated by this energy world around us. To actually define my very first experience would be really difficult.
That's okay, Anna. No worries. Yeah, we can jump. If you can't say, it's fine. That's fine. But regardless that, if you want, I can tell you. I can tell you actually something else. All right. Have you never heard about OB? I think so. Out of body experience.
Have I ever had an out-of-body experience?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. As a child, because it all starts in childhood, I used to fly. I used to run down the side of my house in my dreams, and I would fly, and I would actually leave my body and fly off into the universe, if that makes sense. And I would connect mainly with higher vibrational beings at that stage. But the lower vibrational beings are always aware that we're around as well. But I would connect with the spirit guides, spirit animals. I would see myself talking to them. It's actually interesting because you see yourself outside your body, if that makes sense. Like you're watching yourself having the experience. It's kind of hard to explain. It's like a third person experience. They were really positive and they were helping me, connecting with my spiritual guides and so forth, were helping me understand what my path is. Because when I first started educating people, it was to learn how to use your psychic senses, to understand what they are. They're all very natural. We all have them. It's the same as the lower vibrational beings. If you don't believe in ESP and psychic abilities, you're never going to open yours. That's fine. That's not my thing to try and convince people. But people who are ready and open is that I started educating people about how to use your psychic senses, what you might see, hear, feel, know, smell, taste, all the different 7 senses that we have. But then I sort of flipped into working with the paranormal, and I've had some interesting experiences. If you'd like me to tell you about some of those, I'm sure I could think of quite a few.
Right. Go away. Go.
Okay, so when I was younger, I'm going to talk about some of the ones that people always talk about, Ouija boards and some of the things that I did that I shouldn't have done, but I'm still here today. So I'm here to tell you the story about these. So when I was younger, probably around about 19 or 20, I was fascinated by the paranormal, but I didn't understand it. It's the whole reason why we're having this conversation, and I've written my book and I do the podcast and so forth, is to educate people so they don't do some of the silly things that I did. So what I did is I was looking on websites, I was watching movies, and unbeknownst to me, I had this underlying paranormal addiction which attracts these beings. So when you tune into the paranormal and you, with your thoughts, your words, or your actions, you actually instigate an intention to connect with them, they see you. If you put out there, I want to connect with paranormal beings, or, you go on a ghost tour and you're like, yeah, I really want to connect with a demon, you're going to get one. And then when you get it, you don't like it and you don't want it. And then it's just too bad. You've got to find someone like me to help come in and undo what the person has done. Because the intention of connecting with these beings, they pick up that vibration. Because remember, everything we think about and the words that we say create a vibration. So I was looking on websites, looking at magic, looking at spells, looking at how to cast circles around my chair or my bed of a nighttime so that I wouldn't have any paranormal beings coming to get me of a nighttime. Because when I started out, I had literally no knowledge. And everything that I talk to people and educate people about is all my experiences, which I've had many, many, many. I could talk for hours about the paranormal. Anyway, so this night I was sleeping in the lounge room just because I was having trouble with my back. So sleeping in a recliner was better for my back. So I'd set up my salt circle. You know, the family were in bed. No one knew what I was doing. So I set up this salt circle around my chair. And I said some incantation that I'd found online. Bad news. Like, seriously, it was the worst possible thing that I could do. But at the time, I didn't know. I just didn't know. This is the thing. You don't dabble in magic. You don't dabble in black magic. You don't dabble in the paranormal because it's energy and it will become a problem unless you understand how to manage it. So these experiences I'm going to share are in the early days. Anyway, I'm in my chair. I'm asleep. I've made my circle, cast my little incantation to keep the paranormals away. What I'd actually done was invite them into that circle. Now, I have to say, before we get to the next bit, I don't drink alcohol. I don't drink coffee, don't drink tea. I'm very, very healthy, just live on water, eat a very healthy diet, no prescription medications, no mental health issues, right? So I have to say that when I'm talking about the paranormal. So I'm sitting in this chair and I drift off to sleep. And all of a sudden I'm woken up. Don't know what time it was. That's not relevant. I woke up because I felt this heavy presence leaning over me in the chair. And I'm like, oh, what's that? I wake up. I was eyes wide open, like it's dark. It's pitch black dark. But I could see the outline of this very dense looking, ominous looking being. Like I'm still seeing it in my mind now. This is how much it was imprinted into my head. And as I'm about to open my mouth and say, you know, who are you? Why are you here? Please leave. It thrust what I can only call as a hand or an arm into my chest. Now, I felt something, I can't say it was a hand for sure, I felt something wrap around my heart because the beat changed. I started to feel unwell. I started to almost panicking. I'm like, what is going on? What have I done by creating this circle around my chair? So in that moment of this, whatever it was, grabbing my heart, like it felt like my physical heart. I'm not talking heart chakra, heart energy. It was the physical heart. I actually felt ill. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, right, what do I do? What do I do? Had this connection with the higher vibrational beings. So I called in, I work with the archangel beings, but you can call them anything you like. They're just higher vibrational supporters. So I called in 3 or 4 of my higher vibrational supporters to please come now to remove this energy being from this circle. And I promised that if they helped me there and then, that I would never, ever do magic or casting circles or anything like that ever again. So within 5 minutes, I felt kind of like a release. This thing held on to my heart. It was truly horrifying. This is one of the first experiences I explained to people. I actually felt like my life was threatened. So this is why I educate people about the paranormal. You don't mess with them. I had unintentionally invited this being into my space. Now, it left, and I then had to undo all of that magical whatever. I can't remember now because it's like 30 years ago. I had to undo everything that I had done with that energy being. And it did leave. And that scared me for quite a long time. So I steered clear of magic. So my underlying paranormal addiction is still there. And I'm going, oh, how can I connect with paranormal beings? I want to do this. I watch the movies. I read the books. How can I do this? How can I do this? And then I saw someone using a Ouija board. And a friend of mine had one. Do you have time for me to tell you 2 stories about Ouija boards?
You, of course. Actually, I was wondering if you could tell me something like that. So I'm here.
Oh, you'll love this.
Yeah.
Both have terrible endings. I'm still here to tell you the story, but these both had endings that needed to be fixed by someone else. Because when I was 22, I didn't have the understanding that I have now about paranormal beings, how the energy world works. Okay.
You had to learn
So
basically,
yeah.
so yeah.
It can be quite frightening. It's not fun, it's not hip, it's not cool. These beings are real. They have feelings, they have emotions, and if you annoy them, they will come and cause you mischief in your home. They mess with your eating patterns, your sleeping patterns, your behavior. They can drive people's mental health issues up. We'll get on to that later. But what I did, still young, still very naive, I go to see a friend. She has a Ouija board, beautiful, painted, like really fancy one that she spent $300 on, wrapped in green velvet. And I'm sitting there and my paranormal addiction is like peaking. I'm like, yeah, I'm like really, really cool. Like, show me this, please. So her children were out of the house, mine were at school. And we're sitting there and she tunes into her spirit guide, as she calls it. It wasn't a spirit guide. It was actually something quite nasty and quite awful, and it caused things to happen in my house. And it's my fault again because I did it through intention. So this energy being that was present in this board, she's talking to it. I'm just watching. I'm just sitting on the sidelines. Remember, first time, never done this before. So I'm just observing. And she's moving the planchette thing around and she's talking to this being and she's saying, oh, it's telling me that you've got spiritual beings in your house. And I'm going, yeah, I know. We had a little girl spirit in this house that I'm living in right now for a very long time. She came in with some people that were here for child daycare, because this used to be like a family daycare centre. When we bought the house, this little child spirit stayed and she was very, very naughty. So she was the part of the problem with this issue, is that this little girl had come with me energetically to my friend's house and she was communicating with this other energy being. Oh my gosh. I'm almost embarrassed to tell you this, but the whole reason I share these stories is so that other people don't do stupid things like this that I did. So this spirit within this board, she looked like a grandma. My friend's going, oh, she looks like one of your spirit guides, and she's telling me that you need to draw this symbol on your front door so that the little girl can go off into the afterlife and be with her family. Now, that was 100% untrue. That was a total lie, but I fell for it. I seriously fell for it. And she's going, okay, I'm going to draw this symbol. My friend drew this symbol for me that I had to draw on my front door. Oh my gosh, at midnight with a quartz crystal. So I'm drawing this symbol. So I'm like, okay, no worries. That sounds really cool. This is not dealing with dark energy. This is all safe. And we're just going to create a doorway for this little girl to go off into the afterlife with her spirit guides and be off with her family. And it's like, seriously, now I know that there's a whole heap of, it's just messes with our human minds. Anyway, I go home. I say thank you to my friend, no worries, thank you, I'm going to head home now. Midnight that night, family again, all in bed. There I am in the lounge room and I'm drawing this symbol on the front door. I don't know what I expected to happen. I thought maybe like you see in the movies, you get this big gust of wind and you get all these sort of sparkly sprinkles and all these things are happening and these laser lights and all this stuff coming through this thing that I'd opened. I'd opened an interdimensional doorway. I call them portals. So portals are a real thing into other realities. Now, when spirits need to transition into the afterlife, they just go with the archangels. They don't need to open a doorway. These doorways that people open, they open them into other realms. Now, there's so many different dimensions. I'm not going to go into all of that. I just deal pretty much with the lower vibrational beings. So we'll just call it the darker realm today. Excuse me. So I'd opened this doorway and nothing happened. And I'm looking at it going, okay, what am I supposed to do now? I wasn't given any more information and I silly didn't ask. I didn't ask for what do I do next. So instead of closing the doorway, I left it open. And I thought, okay, I don't know what to do now. I'm just going to go to bed. So I had a portal doorway into another dimension open in my lounge room where our front door was. Now, the second part of this story is I thought, okay, I need to close this portal, but I don't know how to. I'm going to make a Ouija board. I was too embarrassed to go and see my friend. I thought she's just going to, make fun of me. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to make a Ouija board that I can hide in my house. And this is naughty. I was in a naughty stage. You've got to remember, paranormal addict, I'm finding ways to do things that are sneaky. So I bought a piece of white laminated board, and on the top I put a piece of clear contact, and I wrote on it in a black texter that I could wipe off later. So I could wipe everything off and hide the board in the house, and no one would know what I'd been up to. So, oh dear, I'm so embarrassed, but we're going to tell it anyway. I wrote on this piece of whiteboard. I was in my bedroom and the ironing board was up. So on top of the ironing board, I put this piece of white laminate, and I wrote on it yes, no, and some the letters of the alphabet. So there's the intention to again create another doorway into a reality. So there I am opening a second portal. Didn't know it at the time because I hadn't actually tuned in to technically in my mind open this board I had created. But now I know you don't even have to do that. You can draw your Ouija board stuff on a piece of paper because that is simply your intention to open a doorway. It's crazy. It's crazy how this stuff works. This is why I educate people about it, to hopefully stop them from opening these doorways in their homes. So back to the story. I wrote all the letters and the things on this piece of whiteboard, and the phone rings. And this is in the days when your phone was connected by a spiral cord to the wall in the kitchen. We only had one phone. It was back in would have been back in the 90s. Mobile phones weren't a thing for everyday people. So I go out and I answer the phone, and I must have been on the phone 10, 15 minutes. When I came back to my bedroom, I went straight to the ironing board. Now, you've got to remember, ironing board, there is nothing underneath it. It wasn't in the sun. It was in a little dark corner of my bedroom. The board was hot, like oven hot.
Whoa.
I put my hand over it and I'm like, oh no. And I actually started to feel really, really sick. I'm like, no, I've done it again. I have opened an interdimensional doorway. So instead of closing it, what do you think I did? I got my spray squirty stuff and I wiped everything off the board. And I thought, okay, I've closed it. No, it's done. I'm just going to put it away. I actually threw it out. It went out into my wheelie bin and was taken away within the week. Didn't matter. I had opened a doorway and let another one of these massive black cloaked energy beings into my house through my intention. Now, this being banged around in the ceiling. Anywhere where I walked, it would be above me and it would knock on the ceiling. Or if I was in bed, it was in my house for about 3 weeks before I finally worked out how I was going to deal with it. If I was working on my computer in the lounge room or the kitchen, it would knock on the walls. It would stand behind me. It was really intimidating. Like I had opened the doorway, something had come through. So therefore, they're in the environment, they're in the earth environment. And because I had called it, it followed me everywhere. So 3 weeks go by. Excuse me. When I talk about these stories, paranormal beings are aware and they're just observing and listening me telling the tales of them. So my throat I can get a little bit of a slight cough.
Can you see
So
them
this energy
or can you
being-
feel them right now?
Pardon?
Can you see can you see them right now, or can you
No, I
feel
can
them?
feel them because I'm
You can
more
feel
a
them.
feeler now. Yeah, I know. Because my thinking has, like, I feel like I've got a little bit of brain fog. There's a little bit of brain fog there, and
Okay.
it's because of my connection to them. Is that quite often they'll come and observe me talking about them, and they know I talk about them respectfully and that I'm here to educate people. So there's no issue. There's no harm going to come to me. There's no harm going to come to anyone who listens to this. They're purely observing. So this energy being was a little bit malevolent because I had called it through opening this portal. So it's following me around my lounge room and everything. At that time, the universe, in all its divine guidance, sent me a new friend, a lady who did Reiki, an older lady who understood paranormal beings in her own way, but she knew how to clear them from people's homes. She works in a different way to me that I see now, but that's not relevant. So this lady came to my house. Like, I'd met her a few times, and I'm like, I think I really need your help. I'm happy to pay you for the work. And she came to my house and she walked around my house, and I didn't tell her where this energy being was. She's like, yep, it's following you. Everywhere you go in this house, it is going to follow you. It didn't seem to follow me when I left the house. I don't have an answer for why. Maybe because I opened that portal in my bedroom. There was a portal in the front door. I didn't tell her about that one, but she found it. So funny. She's like, did you do that one as well? And I just looked at her and she's like, you silly girl. So I learnt my lessons in those days. But anyway, she had a little brass bell that this was part of her Reiki process when she was clearing people's homes. She used to do Reiki in homes. She'd go around each room and she would ring the bell, and it would tingle quite sharply. It'd be really high vibrational tingle. When she tingled it around me, it wouldn't work. It simply just wouldn't move. And that said to her, dense vibrational energy around Anna. Also at the front door, there was a big patch. She's like, I don't know what you've done there. She said, don't even tell me. I don't know what you've done or what you've drawn or what you've said. Just, I don't want to know. She said, but we need to close that. And I explained about how I was told I needed to open a portal for the little girl to be able to go to her family. And she was a child spirit. She wasn't a dark energy disguised as a child. She was just a naughty child. She used to watch me when I was doing the washing up, and she used to follow me around the house and sit on my bed. She used to actually jump on my bed. I'd be in bed reading a book, and I'd see these little pair of pigtails. Her hair would sort of swing. I'd see this little outline of her head. She'd jump across me on the bed, go around the bed and out the door again. So she was a funny little thing. She must have loved having this energy being in the house, because I think she was a little bit on the naughty side. But anyway, my friend went around the house and she said, we need to close that portal on the ironing board, because that is where I had actually opened it. So I was part of her process because I was the person that instigated it. I had to be part of closing this portal. So we said a few prayers. She had some crystals with her. She did her own Reiki process that she used for closing portals. The room, the energy of the room changed instantly, because even my partner at that stage said to me, this room doesn't feel right. It's always cold. I didn't have the heart to tell him that I'd opened a doorway to another dimension in our bedroom. Oh, dear. But the energy of the room improved. It became warm and light and bright again. So she's like, right, this room's all good. You come with me. She's like, right, you come with me. So around, we went down the hallway, into the lounge room, to the front door. Oh, and the front door, this energy being, similar to the one that was the chest, the heart grabber, as I call it, was standing at the front door. She walked up to this being because she described it to me later. She actually saw it. Like, everyone has different senses. I feel them, occasionally see them, occasionally hear them. But she saw it outright and she went, yep, it's about 8 feet tall. It's got some sort of weird black cloak on, looks very skeletal, sounds like the one that tried to grab your heart. And it challenged her, like it wouldn't move. It would not move. She had tourmaline. She was wearing a tourmaline necklace and she actually had to take it off because it started to feel a bit strange on her neck. I can't explain it. This is a long time ago. So she took the tourmaline off. She's standing there in defiance. Like, she was amazing. This woman was almost like my mentor in understanding that this is how you manage these beings, is that you come at it from respect. She didn't go at it with inappropriate language. She wasn't waving her arms. She wasn't doing anything. She wasn't outwardly saying prayers or being how can I put it, intrusive or trying to instigate anything negative with this energy being. She was standing her ground. She stood there and she just stood with her arms hands sort of folded together, and she just stood there looking at it. And it must have started to shift because it realized that she wasn't actually going to be frightened by it like I was. I was like, I don't know what to do with this. I don't know. I wasn't really frightened. It was more, I'm just like, I don't know what to do with this. So thank you, management, as I call them, spirit guides, angels, archangels, for sending her, because she taught me that you don't fear these beings. They're not frightening. I called it in. I let it into my home. So therefore it is my fault, my problem, and I owned that. And this is why I talk to people about these things that happen, is because you don't mess with the paranormal. In the end, she did some Reiki over that space where it was standing. It must have felt uncomfortable. It went through the front door, back out into whichever dimension that is. She did more Reiki symbols and using her bell, and she had her crystals back on again now, and she put some crystals around the door and she said, right, I want you to leave them there tonight. Just tell your family, you're just setting up a sacred space in that little corner of the lounge room. I'm like, right, no worries. And I said to her, are you sure that it's gone? She said, can you feel a difference in the room? Like, I was really heightened. This was really feeding my paranormal addiction in a positive and a negative way. Like, I was scared and embarrassed that I'd done such a stupid thing, but I was like, wow, I have learnt so much about respecting the unseen energy that is around us. And when I go into people's homes now, I did a house yesterday in England and I'm in Tasmania, Australia. You can, with your intention, look into the energy of other people's homes with their permission. I look at a floor plan, I have a photo of the house, I have the permission of the owner, and I clear each room of paranormal beings. This house had 2 portals. It had a lot of energetic imprints, not that the lady had created, but the people who had lived there before her. It's usually the previous tenants. The build-up of energy, the build-up of negative emotions in that home become an issue for people when they move in, and their behaviours change. All of a sudden they're arguing, the dog won't come inside. A good example is that a friend of mine, lovely family, beautiful parents, care for their children. They live on a farm. They've got cows, chickens, ducks. They've got everything you could think of. Really lovely country people. Their 8-year-old son came out into the lounge room one day and said, Mummy, I want to kill myself. And she was shocked. She was shocked. She was like, right, we've got to get you off to the school counsellor. So he saw a school psychologist, but I've done a lot of energy work for them. So they approached it medically, with mental health, seeing the school psychologist, but also energetically. Now, this lady has had an issue with another local lady here. Very complicated story. But the other lady sends out black magic, curses, spells. She causes all sorts of difficulties because she's in a bad way herself, like negative. She's just very living in a low vibrational state, not got a lot of self-confidence and so forth. So she sends out all this stuff to people. Now, this child is not someone that I would ever consider saying, Mummy, I don't know why, but I want to kill myself. I tuned into that boy with the permission of the parent, a photo of her son. There were some energetic beings attached to him from this other lady, because these beings can travel through energy cording. They're quite sneaky. They don't have to be present in your home or present within you. They can cord into you. Now, that lady had sent them with intention, but I managed to do some work with that young man over about 2 or 3 hours. I cleared all the paranormal beings, all the energetic imprints they were attached to. Within, I think it was 12 hours, his mum messaged me and she went, he looks better. He had gone from being pasty grey in the face and almost crying all the time. Like, he was really looking unwell, really unwell. He was due to see the school psychologist, and I said, go ahead with that, because you don't know, there may be an underlying mental health issue there that needs attention. So I always say to people when I do this sort of work is that there's a process, there's a holistic process to doing this work, is that the client sees their doctor, they see their mental health professional. If it's not solving the problem for you or giving you a solution, there may be an energetic aspect that is causing the issue. And this is what happened with this 8-year-old child. Now, my early on experiences that I just talked about, they actually gave me the understanding of black magic and casting spells. So in a way, it actually taught me a lot about dealing with this other local lady who sends out all these negative emotions and all this negative stuff to people. And we've put in place what I call angelic interventions. That was actually their word. But we needed to put something in place so that this lady couldn't harm this child again.
Super. So you talk also about these black entities, right? This dark energy. And I didn't say to you yet, but I succeeded in having an out-of-body experience once ago, right? And I think that was my way to be close to the low vibration, I guess. So finally, I could see my body, which was pretty far away. So I was excited to see everything. I was in 360 degrees. And but then there were 2 black entities that appeared, so like 2 black twisters. I don't know how to say. And they came towards my bedroom. So after a while, they decided to suck something from me. So at first I was more like, okay, so what's happening here? But then I hear a voice say, you have to wake up. So it was this big voice, you have to wake up. No, and he repeated. And then he say, you have to wake up. And I felt like something punched me in the stomach, and I bounced back into my body. And was very impactful experience. After that, actually, I didn't wake up straight away because someone gave me a book, like to made me calm. So it was the story of the world. It was very interesting. And then this book disappeared after a while that I actually woke up properly. And how would you explain to me that experience, basically? So what happened to me?
Okay. A lot of people, whether they're spiritually open and pronounce spirituality or not, believe that there is only love and light. So they quite willingly, I'm talking very generally here, they'll quite willingly connect with their guides, angels and archangels, and they'll go astral traveling without the awareness that other energy beings can see you when you are astral traveling. So, dark energy beings light energy beings, they're all energy. Cosmic beings, as I call the extraterrestrials, they're just another whole bunch of energy beings. The elementals, they're energy beings as well. They care for the nature, the fairies, the pixies, the elves, the dwarves. It's all real, but they're in sort of different realities, different dimensional states. Now, when people leave their bodies or they do seances or they intentionally open themselves up to a spiritual experience, which is what you had when you left your body, you will connect with higher vibrational beings. But the others, the dark entities or the lower vibrational beings, if you want to call them that, they see you as well. And sometimes when you're not in your body, you're not in control of that physical body. So they can actually come and either energy cord into you. So what they do is they simply sink an energy cord and they can just feed off your energy. They're not going to harm you. What sort of predator would harm their continuous food source? This is the way I explain it to people. Dark energy beings do not kill people. They do not make people do anything. They will enhance what is already there. So I have a bit of an eating addiction as well. I love sugar. I'm like most people. But I'm working on living low carb. But I know when all of a sudden I've done a house clearing and I'm a little bit more open than I would be normally. I've done some energy work, spent 7 or 8 hours in a day doing energy work. And all of a sudden I get a craving for a whole box of chocolates. And I'm like, oh, no, that's not me. No, I don't eat chocolate anymore. Not that sort of chocolate. And I'm like, oh, and it's in my head and it's making me go, oh, you need to go to the shop, go to the shop, go to the shop, buy the chocolates, buy the chocolates. I'm like, hang on, that's not me. When I tune into myself, because I check my energy all the time, especially when I'm doing energy work, because these beings can connect to people. So if I'm doing a house clearing, like I mentioned earlier, my process, I am creating a psychic cord into that home, whether it's in Saudi Arabia or New York or Lancashire in England. It doesn't matter. You're creating that cord with intention. I'm picking up on the energy beings that are present within that home. This is why I talk about energy workers and they need to be aware of their energy. It's the same for other people. You're astral traveling. You're out of your body, like you're corded to your body. There's like a light cord between your physical body and your light body, which is the energy body, which leaves your physical body to go traveling, visiting other dimensions. Excuse me.
Nothing.
So these energy beings, the lower vibrational entities, see that as a quick way in. They're like, oh, Fabio's out of his body. I think we might sneak into his bedroom and sink some energy cords into him and just feed off him from a distance. So when you wake up, you might be a little bit tired, a little bit more tired than normal, or you might be a bit thirsty, or you might be a bit hungry, or I don't know why I feel like this. Why do I feel different all of a sudden? Yes, you've astral traveled. You might not be quite back in your body yet. It takes a while for your energy to settle, maybe 10, 20 minutes. Excuse me. From my experiences, it's about a 20-minute thing. But then you go about your day and you're like, I don't feel right. I feel weird. Like that young boy I gave the example. He come out and said to his mum, he made that statement because that other lady had corded into him. And through that cord had come all the demonic beings that she'd sent to him out of spite. And she's quite a nasty lady. It's very sad. I don't normally talk about people that way, but she's very, very difficult to deal with. So, yes, you were being warned that you needed to get back into your body so that these dark energy beings didn't get a chance to cord or connect into you, because they will take that chance. We are literally a food source for them. So those energy beings would have come to you because you may have a particular negative emotion that you create. We all have them. I call them trigger emotions. I mentioned about me and my resentment. That is my main trigger emotion. You may have, worthless, unworthy. There'll be something there that these beings would have been attracted to you for.
Super. I think I was just a tourist, without a wallet, passport in South Africa or something. I think for them I was just a tourist. But you said something interesting, actually. You said that basically when you wake up, this kind of situation make you feel tired, right? But in my
Yes.
case, that was very, very weird. Maybe because it was the first time that actually I properly had this experience, but actually gave me energy. And it's very weird if I compare this experience with another one that I had. Uh, Also, I try to have the out of body experience, and sometimes I used to see people around my bed, so they look at me and seem to be part of my previous lives. I don't know, I'm not entirely sure. But after a while, I remember telling them that I didn't want to see them anymore because it was taking too much energy. And I actually had to rest for more than a year to recover from that OB experience. After a while, I didn't do anymore because it was truly, truly taking me too much energy. And I want to experience that. I was a curious guy. I'm a curious person. I I just like to know what was to the other side, basically. Then I experienced, and then I say, okay, so there is something to the other side. So that was my curiosity, basically. But what I noticed is that when I had the experience of the entity twisters, when I woke up, actually I had a big energy. I don't know, maybe because the person who talked to me was a good one. I don't know why, it could be. But when I used to see people around me, and I have to say, I have not any. I don't know. I don't have any particular gift for sensing the paranormal. I think I just triggered, basically. But when I used to see these people around me kind of every day, then I was literally was tiring after a while. They basically look at me and that's it. So yeah, I don't know how can you explain that, but that experience that would have gave me some negative energy actually was the opposite. It actually gave me some positive energy, and vice versa. The people around me, on my bed, actually gave me no negative energy, but no negative energy at all, actually. But I was very tired about that experience. So I don't know. I don't know how you can explain this, but yeah, I just want to share also my experience since I had also something to say. So I just want your opinion, basically, as well.
Absolutely. There isn't, most people will feel tired after these experiences, but everybody's body, excuse me, everybody's body reacts in a different way to energy. I get quite heightened. When I talk about the paranormal, I speak faster, I think faster, everything is faster. I get that hyperactivity. And when I do an energy clearing job, whether it's a personal energy clearing for someone or a pet, or I do a house energy clearing job, I have to finish by 5 p.m. because it takes me 4 hours to wind back down again because I am so heightened. But the next day is when I feel like I'm waking up with a hangover. I'm slow thinking, my body's moving slow, I'm tired. Energy that's not ours, that is within our own energy field, is going to affect you in different ways. You know, I've just given those two examples, and you've given examples as well. Some made you feel heightened and some made you feel tired. Everybody's body is different. Some people cry. I've seen people cry. And when I do energy clearings with people, I always send them an aftercare sheet outlining some of the symptoms and that these symptoms may occur to a different degree. Some people have nothing. Like I can work on them for 12 hours to do a personal energy clearing, And they're like, no, I got up and went to work. I felt really great. I actually felt really good. And all these positive things happened. Whereas other people are like, oh no, I had to go to bed for a week. I'm just like so tired and drained. People's energy it's personalized. It's very individualized as to how you react to these energy beings. I can just tell you another little quick story that's very relevant. When I started doing paranormal work, probably in my mid-20s, heading into 30s, I would get heart palpitations. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is just normal. It will just happen occasionally. And all of a sudden, one day, I had a really bad bout of heart palpitations. And I'm driving across a bridge with 5 lanes of traffic and no barriers in the middle. And I thought, I have to get my heart thing looked at, because if I have an accident, on this bridge right now, I'm going to hurt me and hurt so many other people around me. So I went, right, I need to look at this. I went and had an ultrasound where they check your heart. I had blood tests and I had everything. I'm super healthy. But my heart is, in the early days for me, my heart would palpitate quite fast when dark energy beings were around. This was a way that my body responded to their presence. Just as I've had a little bit of a cough that has now disappeared because they've moved away. They're like, oh, she's just talking about us. We're just going to go again. My cough has disappeared because that was another way that my body responded. So it's not always energy levels. They can affect our thinking, our emotions. Like I mentioned, some clients just cry constantly afterwards. And I always say to people, when you've had an energy clearing, you need to see your doctor and your mental health professional if you feel that's necessary, just as I do beforehand, because people have to be given that tick of medically healthy, and then I will do an energy clearing for them. Because when you remove those energetic barriers that are within people, it's quite a change in your energy. You'd be surprised how different you feel. So it can take a while for your energy to rebalance, resettle, recover. But my heart palpitating, I actually had it the other day, which is interesting. I haven't had it for maybe 15 years. Like, I'm pretty healthy. And all of a sudden my heart started palpitating, and I was in an old building with a friend, and we were doing some paranormal investigation because she's a newbie. She wanted to do it. I said I'd come along, and my heart started palpitating. So I'm like, yeah, it's a sign. It's just one of those symptoms. Everyone is different. This is why I wrote my book called The Darkness Around Us, because it outlines who these beings are. I give lots of definitions, how they affect us personally. I outline lots and lots of signs and symptoms, mentally, emotionally, physically. Now, I'm not a doctor. I don't proclaim to have any medical or mental health qualifications, but I do have my 55 years of life experiences about how these beings affect us, because I've lived all of this and I'm still here and I'm still fully functional. So it tells you that they don't actually hurt you. But I can explain to people, yeah, if your son comes and starts telling you that he wants to kill himself, and I'm like, whoa, that was serious. There's maybe mental health issue there, but with an 8-year-old, you'd have to think about that. It was more likely energetic, but the mother did the right thing. He saw his GP, he saw his school psychologist, and we did the energy work. It was that holistic approach, because energy beings affect people in all different ways.
Super. You mentioned a couple of times the phrase mental illness, basically, right? But I was, regarding other people, but I was wondering if in your childhood, your family thought that you had experienced something like that, than the gift that you have, basically.
Now, mental health is interesting, and I tend not to comment. I am going to today, but from my personal experiences, I don't tend to comment on mental health because there can be, from my perspective as an energy worker, there can be a paranormal or an energetic side of it as much as a physical and emotional side to mental health. It's quite complicated. Now, I came from a family that had mental health issues. All through my mother's side, there were many, many different types of mental health issues. So growing up as a child, I saw my mother and how she struggled with her mental health. She was a good mum. She brought us up beautifully. But I felt that if I mentioned that there were spirits tapping me on the shoulder at the age of 6, and I was seeing elderly people standing at the end of my bed, or the dog that used to sleep on my bed. I didn't even know whose dog it was, but these spirits were sensing that I had psychic skills. This is one of the things I talk to people about, is that they sense that your energy is different to other people. I kept my experiences to myself. When I was in high school, I was interested in the paranormal. I had a library card. I would go to the library and I would get out books on understanding ghosts, spirits, ectoplasm, all of those things that you want to know about. My dad saw one of the books on my bed head, on my bed, and he was like, "Oh no, you can't have that in the house. You have to take them all back." And being a very strong-minded man, I just didn't have the inclination to argue with him because he always got his own way. So I'm like, right, how else can I do this? So after school, nearly every day of the week, I would go to the library and read the books at the library. And I never told my parents about the work that I do. I think my dad worked it out, and my mum passed away at the age of 75, probably, I think it was 6 or 7 years ago now, and I still didn't tell her what I did.
Right, so your family didn't know about your gift, your experience, your life.
No, I kept it to myself because I did think that if at the age of 15 I'm talking about seeing spirits and experiencing these things, that because of my mother's mental health issues in the family, that they are just going to put me on tablets like they did with her. So I went, no, I'm not telling anyone. Kept it to myself. I observed. I learnt. I still did my reading. I had my personal experiences. But now I'm older. Even my own family, I don't talk about it with my children because they are all adults now and they have their own perspectives. I don't push the paranormal on anyone, but I educate people to think of it as another perspective, like that mum did with her son, her 8-year-old son, that told her that he was going to kill himself. Why do I feel like I want to commit suicide, mummy? She was horrified. And she did all the right things, and she contacted me as well because she knew and she trusted me and knew that I could do the energy work. So a holistic approach helped that situation.
Yeah. When we were young, basically, we were always, aware about what the people would think about us. But now you are, a big woman, so I don't think you care so much about the people would think about you. But regardless that, I was thinking, have people become more open to accepting your gift or your way to, your way to be who you are, basically?
Absolutely. I did struggle when I started YouTube. There is a particular look that the mainstream people expect paranormal workers to have. There's that stereotypical paranormal look of, wearing black and wearing religious objects and looking all mysterious. And along comes this sort of nearly 50-year-old woman at that stage. I look like your mum. I had someone say that to me once. You know nothing about the paranormal. You look like my mum. And that got me thinking as to the fact that people are very judgmental about your skills because of the way you look. Now, that's part of the mainstream. I have found, because I persevered, I'm very strong-minded and I won't be told I can't do something. So I will educate people about the paranormal till the day I die because I believe in it. I trust it. I know it's real. I have seen the results with my clients. I saw the results with myself at first, and then I would work on friends and I would work on friends' pets, and they're like, wow, that is a big change, in the way the animal is behaving and so forth. I don't care what people think. People are allowed to be skeptics. We've all got our own life path and we all believe in what we want to believe in. But I just want to educate people to the fact that be open to another perspective. I have a dear friend in England who I've done a lot of work for. He's a man about my age. His adult children who've had issues in their homes and had their own energetic issues. And they've gone, right, I don't believe in what she does, but I've seen the difference in Dad's home, so there might be something to it. Yes, I will let her do the energy work. So skeptics are coming round, but they need to have the experience of feeling unwell, and it's not medical. They've had blood tests and they've had all the tests under the sun done. They've been to see their mental health professional who goes, yep, I can't find anything wrong with you. You seem normal and so forth. I can't find anything that I can pinpoint a mental health issue. It's got to be energetic. If it's not medical, it's not mental health, it's got to be an energetic cause. But energetic is always third on the list. I never proclaim to be a healer. I don't like that word. We never heal each other. I call myself, I come along and I remove the energetic blockages so that the person can then work on healing themselves through their thoughts, their words, their actions, what they do in their life, how they want to choose to raise their vibration. So people are slowly coming around, but there are those that are very strict in the way they've been brought up and they will not open themselves up to another perspective. That's fine. I'm not here to beat people over the head with this. It's just simply another perspective to think about. And the next time you go to the shop or you go to the supermarket or you're out with a friend and you come home and you're like, I didn't feel like this when I went out. Why do I feel a bit different? That educates people to think about energy from people and places can affect you.
Super. And I have just a last question for you. Here we already made 1 hour, 20 minutes. So time
I
flies.
talk a lot. I have to warn you.
No, absolutely not. No. Fortunately, I woke up at 5 o'clock. I felt it this time. It was long. But by the way, what kind of mistakes have you made and how did it help you become an expert? Basically, this is the last question.
Oh, what mistakes have I made? I did mention about some of the practices, dabbling in, I wouldn't call it black magic. It was simply casting a spell to protect me. So some of the mistakes I've made is not understanding fully what I am doing before I do it.
Yeah.
So with the paranormal is working with respect. In the early days, I was not as respectful as I am now. Like I treat dark, demonic, whatever level being you're talking about, I treat them all with the same respect as I'm talking to you now, as I talk to my family, as I talk to friends. Because respect, what you put out is what you get back. 99% of them are going to treat you respectfully because that is universal law. This is what my guides told me, is that you treat them respectfully they will treat you the same way. This is why I can work so effectively with them. There's no going in brandishing holy water and thrusting crosses in their face and saging out the house, because it simply doesn't work. And being rude and using disrespectful words and asking them to come and possess you, which I experienced one day when I was on a paranormal tour. This man was like, yeah, come and possess me. And I was thinking, if you only knew what intention you are putting out, if you get something come into your personal body and it changes your thought patterns and so forth, you're going to wish you hadn't done that. So understanding how these beings work is so, so important. And that's why I'm educating people about them. I can't remember what else you asked. I'm a little bit tired after our conversation.
We're finished. No worries. No, it's okay. Basically, I asked you, how did you become an expert? Basically, but what you actually answered me. So was it your answer anyway? So a lot of mistakes, and that made you become who you are and be respectful, basically, with the other side. So no, catch it. No worries. It's normal. We are tired. Actually, was pretty intense. I don't know if it was the fact of the energy level as well, and can be, but I honestly enjoyed a lot. So I enjoyed it totally, and it was a truly a pleasure having you join here on the Fabio podcast. So truly. And I appreciate you taking the time to be a part of the show, and I hope you enjoyed your experience as well. Thank you again, and take care, Anna.
No worries. Thank you for having me on today. I really enjoyed it. I know I talk a lot, but I find it so important to educate people about the paranormal.
Super. Thank you, Anna. See you around.
Here we are. Congratulations. You just finished my entire episode. So, the only thing I ask is to take a moment to give Journey to Success a rating. By the way, thank you so much for being here on Journey to Success. I'm very grateful. Thank you, and see you next time.